don't limit your dream or your belief. You can make great money and have a great career, especially now. Most of your listeners are in Indonesia, I assume, and it's a global world right now. And you can be in Indonesia and have a dream of doing work for Disney as a client of yours. It's an achievable thing in 2020 and beyond.
Hi, everyone. It's Tanya, and I'm your host on the Janda Becanda podcast. On the show today, we have a Mr. Janda. That's right, you heard me. Mr. Janda on the Janda Becanda podcast. Who is Mr. Janda, you ask? Well, he is an author, he's an entrepreneur, and he's a teacher. He wrote the books The Psychology of Design and Burn Your Portfolio. What cool titles! He's also the founder of a creative agency called Riser, and he's now the CEO of another creative agency called EKR. He now also is a teacher, teaching young freelancers on how to develop their businesses. What a cool story. I can't wait to interview him. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to our next guest, Mr. Michael Janda.
I want to
Yeah.
tell everybody who's on the show, I'm already giddy from having you on the show because when I was watching, because I'm a maniac about watching YouTube during the pandemic,
Hmm.
because
Uh-huh.
unfortunately I do a lot of that, and where
Yeah.
I was watching or stalking, however you want to call it, the Future
Yeah.
channel, and
Yeah.
with Chris Do, and he mentioned you. I was like, about, I don't know what specifically he said about you, and you as reference to Mr. More Janda, and I was like, more
Uh,
Janda? There's
yeah.
I'm Janda Becanda, and there's more Janda. I was like,
Yeah.
who is
So
more
funny.
Janda? Who could be more Janda than me? And but so yes, so it's apparently you're a bit of a demigod in the creative agency, it seems like, and but with sort of like a little bit of Lex Luthor look, and I love it.
That's right. It is.
So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if you know, but your root name kind of means widow and
I do know this.
divorcee.
Yeah.
You do know this,
Yeah.
okay? But
Yeah.
where is
When
your
when
name from?
people
Are you Sanskrit?
it's
Are you part Indian?
no, it's Czech. My name is from the Czech Republic, and it essentially means son of Jan. So of Jan
Oh,
is what it is.
oh,
So da, and I don't speak Czech, but this is what I've been told, that
I
da
see.
means of, and Jan, Jan, is
Okay, son of
it's
Yan. Got
essentially
it.
like being Johnson, the son of
Oh,
John. So in the United
right.
States, it's Johnson is
Right.
essentially what the name is. But when I
Okay.
started
Okay.
building my audience on Instagram, and I have a big audience in Jakarta and Indonesia, and I had multiple people message me, "Hey, did you know that your last name means this?" So I learned that about a year ago or a little more, and I thought that was super interesting.
All right. Well, everybody, it's official. We have a Mr. Janda on the Janda Bachanda podcast. All right.
It's so good.
It's the
So
show
good.
that,
I'm a different type of guest than what you usually have on your podcast.
yes.
I was looking at your podcast, so doing my stalking before, and you
I
talk
saw.
about divorce and relationships and things, and getting
Yes,
dating again, and all those kinds of things. And
that's right.
so it's a different, yeah, it's a different type of podcast that I usually do as well. So I was excited. And when you messaged me, like I told you, when you messaged me, I was like, well, this has to happen. Janda Becanda and more Janda have to team up for a podcast episode.
Okay. Well, first we're
So
gonna.
it was a quick yes.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you. Yeah, you answered real quick, and I was like, it's like
Yeah.
yes. You know
Yeah.
what? You're the second famous kind of like a virtual person that's ever replied to my DM. The first one was Cory Booker, and so I think you're in the
Okay.
You're in good company. So
Good.
yes.
Good. That's good. Yeah, Cory Booker, nice. I am keeping the dream alive. You know what? I reply to every DM that I get, and I have for a year and a half since I started building my Instagram community. I thought, you know what? I don't want to be that guy
Mhm.
or girl that doesn't reply. When somebody messages me, I want them to feel like, hey, I can be your friend.
Yeah.
I'm here to support you. You have access to me, and it's been a lot of DMs. I mean, I get hundreds of DMs every day, it seems. And so it's just a huge undertaking to reply to everybody. But I've built so many great relationships through Instagram DM, people who are like my daily pen pals that I message with all the time. I know I've been able to support people all around the world when they have a question or something. They feel like they have somebody that they can ask who's actually going to reply. So it's been something that's been really rewarding to me, and I know it's provided value to other people as well.
Oh yes, you have. Yeah, for sure. And I'm
Yeah.
talking about because I binge watch. I was telling you, was binge watching your show,
Mm-hmm.
and you answer a lot of great questions for people in the creative world. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if I were to repeat my college years and rebuild my academic uh, curriculum, if you will, I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
include a lot of the things that you teach. Uh, well, creativity in general, I think is so
Yeah.
underestimated in terms of how critical that
Yeah.
is, and the business side of things. And I know you stress a lot about you need to be able to uh, communicate well to your clients in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
not just being good at asking about client briefs, but also representing your own values and then making sure that
Yeah.
that's heard, and that standing up for yourselves time and again in a very well rehearsed and, you know, uh, just very thoughtful way of doing
Mm.
things. I love how you put the analogy, and just to put in context to listeners who are like, what are you talking about? I'm not kidding. So Michael Janda is a bit of a demigod in the creative agency. He's an author of the book that says "Burn Your Portfolio."
Burn your portfolio.
I
Mm-hmm.
love that title. That's such a killer
Yeah.
title. And the other one is The Psychology of Design. And unfortunately, it's not available on Kindle. So you need to
Not
you
yet.
need to talk to
I know.
Amazon about that, because your stalkers in
No, it's all
Indonesia
me. It's all
really.
me. I need to make the ebook version, and it's just I have such a long list
Oh,
of things that
okay.
I'm trying to get done that it has fallen down my priority list, but I need to make it happen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just sort of bring up a to-do list that
No, no, my to-do list is so long. I don't need reminders. It's a good reminder, but man, I am I am
I
I am
promise.
a go-getter, so I always have a list of things that I'm going after. And
Well,
it's definitely going to happen.
well, yes, you are. You are a go-getter, and this is also part of the reason why I'm so excited to have you on the show, because a lot about the stories in Janda Becanda, I like to highlight a lot of daring stories, or success
Mm.
stories, and yours is in particular is a very interesting one. You, this is just a sense that I'm getting because I haven't really
Sure.
fully read your books yet,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but,
yeah, yeah.
but that you really want to encourage people to sort of branch out and be brave. And in your particular case, the example that you have set is in the creative world. But
Hmm.
I like the fact that you basically tell people, just go find that voice of yours and just be good at it and just be great at it.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
eventually you'll arrive at one point that you'll feel good about the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, so as I mentioned, I binge watch a lot of shows, all sorts of crazy things. And
yeah.
I feel like there's a cool TV show in Indonesia on Mola TV called Life in Minor Keys, and it's got this great songwriter. You got to check this guy out, Max Venison. And what he does is that he meets a guest, and then after meeting them for one full day, then he writes a song about this person, the essence, and just takes the sap of what makes a person's story so great. And I think your story is cool enough to be in a Max Venison song. You could be
Oh,
you
that's so nice of
you
you.
could be like in an episode of Life in Minor Keys because
Oh,
it's
that's
pretty cool.
awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No,
You
it's
know, when
okay.
I started my career, I went to I went to university at Indiana University in Indiana. It's the state next to Illinois and Chicago. So I was born in Chicago, and I went to university and I just started to study business like all of my friends were going into the business school, because I thought, even though I grew up as an artist, I was always drawing and painting. And in high school, I took all the art classes. That was always my passion and focus in my life. And then I go to university and I thought, I'm just going to study business because I don't want to be a starving artist, to use the
Mm.
cliche. I don't want to be a starving artist my whole life. And my freshman year, I got such bad grades taking the business prereqs and things, and I wasn't passionate about it, and I was going to flunk out of university. And my parents said, "Hey, just
Mm.
do what you love. Do chase something that you love. It's better to
Mm.
be um, poor doing something you love every day than it is to be rich and being miserable doing what you do every day." And so I thought, okay, that's an interesting thing. And poor, I mean, I wasn't going to be poor by world poor standards, but not rich as an artist, because that's the cliche, the starving artist, that you're never going to make any money. So I decided I would study art and design and pursue that and just see where that takes me. And I honestly thought someday maybe I'll be a creative director somewhere, and maybe I'll be making
Mm.
$60,000 a year, and that's where I'll max out. And you know what? That's okay, as long as I'm doing what I love. Well, 2 years later, I was making $60,000 a year, and I was a creative director at a little agency thing in Phoenix, Arizona. And so my perspective of what I could achieve in my career, my window, my time horizon was only 2 years. It was 2 years to accomplish what I thought my
Mm.
university degree would get me in 20 years. And that kind of started to open up my eyes to think, oh man, what is ahead for me? What can this actually become? And I think my message to your listeners is, don't don't limit your dream or your belief. You can make great money and have a great career, especially now. Most of your listeners are in Indonesia, I assume, and it's a global world right now. And you can be in Indonesia and have a dream of doing work for Disney as a client of yours. It's an achievable thing in 2020 and beyond. This is something that you can accomplish because the world and the economy is getting more and more global over time. Uh, I proceeded through my career. I was a creative director at Fox Studios, living in Los Angeles. Then I started my agency and built my agency for 13 years. Disney was my biggest client. Google was my biggest client for the last 3 years of my agency. We did work for Netflix and HBO and ABC and NBC, Fox Studios, Warner Brothers. I mean, down the list, these were my clients. And it just exceeded every possible dream I ever would have sat back and dreamed about what my career could be. And I think I go back in time and I look at it and I think, man, I probably should have dreamed a lot bigger than I did. And I think that's true for most people. I think you can dream a lot
Yeah.
bigger than what you think you can dream.
Mm.
The barrier to entry to success in 2020 and beyond is so small compared to what it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Mm.
The barrier to entry is just not there. You can learn anything you want. You mentioned YouTube. You've been binge watching YouTube. How much have you learned for
Crazy.
free in the last 6 or 7 months by
It's it.
binge watching YouTube channels?
Well, one weekend with the channel of More Janda. Oh, yeah. Please follow that. Everybody subscribe, like,
Yeah.
and hit the
One
notification bell.
weekend with more Janda and you learned a ton of stuff, but there's so many more Jandas out there. And so I think that's just the
Yeah.
point is, like, you can, education is free everywhere you look. There's just
Yeah.
free content,
Right.
or paid education is minuscule amounts of money. Like you can buy, if you buy good courses and things online for $400, $500, you can get an education that might cost you $10,000 at a university somewhere. And so I just think the barrier to entry on education and learning is low. The barrier to entry on access to uh, elite clients or working for international clients, in people in Jakarta working for people in the United States or in Europe where there are economies that are booming, that's feasible in
Mm.
2020. And then you have a cost of living benefit where your cost of living in Jakarta, I don't know exactly what it is, but I assume that it's a lot cheaper than living in London or in Paris. So
Correct.
you can be a cost effective solution, but you can still generate and shine in the talent that you provide to the world. It's just an exciting time to be in business for anybody. So dream a lot bigger, think a lot bigger than what most people do. I should have, and I try to now in my life.
Well, you're doing pretty good for yourself, so
It's
I,
it's doing okay.
I,
Yeah.
I think the universe was dreaming big for you. So,
That, you know what, there's so much truth to that. My river was running, and there were a lot of moments when I was just getting in the river and letting it flow where it was going to go. And I've been really grateful and blessed that way for sure.
mm, we should be taking down notes. There's a lot of pearls of wisdom in the last like 30 seconds
There's
there.
there's a few in there. Yeah.
Well, maybe people in Utah are, just prolific. Maybe who knows?
Uh, you know what? People anywhere, it's anywhere can be now. I mean, it hard work, be good to people, dream big. Those are such keys to success for
Right.
sure.
Well, it's got to be
Yeah.
more than that because obviously you've been able to marry two things, which is creativity and then a business side. Then you
Hmm. Hmm.
finally, obviously, you've figured out. You long gone were those business school days or business class days that you weren't
Yeah.
doing well, and you've
Yeah.
obviously overcome those issues, and now
Yeah.
you're great at it, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's not just dreaming and working hard, but I guess getting good at
Yeah,
what you're doing.
self-education is so critical. I mean, I got a master's in business from the school of hard knocks, as they say. It was just reading one book after another, living the real experience
Mm.
of building my agency. I sold my agency in 2015. I had never been through any of those kinds of things. I built up a team of 20 people and we were billing millions of dollars, and it was all just stuff that I had to figure out because I didn't have a business degree. But I'd put my business knowledge up against anybody with a business degree because I've done it in the real world.
And you
So
made it.
there's yeah, and I think that that's, I mean, just going back to the emphasis I was making on uh, self education or the barrier to entry, you can learn it. There's so many places that you can learn whatever it is you want to learn. Podcasts. So, Tanya, you started this podcast. How did you learn how to start a podcast?
I took a class in podcasting online.
You did. Good for
Yeah.
you.
And
Yeah.
so, and then I got a couple of lapel mics and a dongle for my iPhone. And
Uh
then
huh.
I got a list of friends and people that I thought would be great on the show. And then I went and interviewed them on my iPhone, and I learned how to edit on Audition, on Adobe Audition.
So good. Uh
Yeah,
huh.
I have a friend who's a BBC journalist, and he was kind enough to teach me how to use Adobe Audition.
Nice.
One afternoon that he showed me how to do that, and so then I got the subscription, and then that's how I learned to be good at it.
Yeah.
And then 1 year later, I have now a podcast production house where I also do podcasts for other for businesses and other individuals.
Oh, that's awesome. So you do the edits and posting and things for other
Yeah,
podcasts?
everything
Yeah.
from concept creation, if they don't even know what they'd like to
Ah,
have, from whether they'd like to have, you know it's more just information, whether it's going to be
Yeah.
a chat with somebody else, is it a
Yeah.
monologue, um, and then scheduling of events, what kinds of guests that they're going to have, and then
Uh-huh.
also the recording and then editing, almost like everything. But if they don't have a
Yeah.
logo, we'll do the logo for them.
Wow, good for you.
Well,
Okay,
this is
so
the
where
Indonesian all-in service,
it's
Yeah, I know
good.
that this is a different kind of conversation that you're gonna have with the future. Okay, this is like
No, it's so
those
good. It's so good
to
because,
try.
but it's still niched. I'm a big fan of niching, but it's still niched. It's still all in this podcast space, and that can be the niche that you're filling. Where are some of the clients that you service with your business? Where are they located in the
In
world?
Jakarta, Jakarta.
All of them are in Jakarta?
Yeah, so far in Jakarta,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
right now, no new business. Well, no additional new business, I suppose, because of the pandemic. So that's why
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also have to. I'm still building up the pipeline. People are still taking the meetings, but they're not buying. They're not signing the new contracts just yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's tough. I mean,
Well,
I don't know what to say. I mean, what would you say? What would you advise me to in terms of building the client base right now for 2021?
you know what? I would reach out outside of Jakarta only. And like I was saying, this is a global
Mm,
economy. And I think of how many people are out there in the world that have this thought of starting a podcast. I do business coaching, and I'm coaching somebody right now who's getting ready to start a podcast. And that's the topic of a lot of our conversations in our coaching sessions is
mhm,
how does he do it? And I'm talking to him about audition and microphone equipment and things, and we're working through all of that I had to figure out to start my podcast that I
right.
do with my friend out of London, BizBuds podcast. And uh, I think my recommendation would be look outside of Jakarta, because this is a global economy, and there's so many people worldwide that could be great clients for you. Uh, and I think that there are people starting podcasts.
Mm,
It's not everybody. I know some of your clients haven't re-signed or whatever at this point because of the pandemic, but the pandemic's going to go away. There was some
yeah,
really good news yesterday about
the vaccine,
vaccines.
right?
Yeah, so really good news out, 90% effective on their phase 3 trials. And I think we have a bright future. My advice to anybody in business in general right now is stay alive in business. Keep your business alive. Do what you have to do, because things will pick up again. Business will be
Mm,
normal again. Uh, I had a big slump when the global recession hit in 2008. My business going into 2008 was rocking. And 2008 until October was our biggest year ever by far. We doubled our billings from the year before, and it was just growth and so much work and trying to hire people. And then October 2008, it's like the phone stopped ringing. All of a sudden, these clients who had been giving me work every single month for months and months and months weren't calling. And some of them weren't even replying to my phone calls. And these were people who were my friends. And so it was a scary time because it was like the lights turned off. Well, it turns out that was the very start of the global recession that made the stock market get cut way down, and people were
mm,
freaking out about money and the economy. And it took a year and a half before things started to even pick up again. I had to downsize my team, laid off 6 or 7 people just to keep my business alive. My year of 2009, the year afterwards, we made $17,000 of profit that year. But I was so grateful. This is coming off of the year before that when we had a $500,000 of profit. We made $17,000 of profit. And I was so grateful that we had any profit at all and that our business was still in business. I didn't make any money personally that year, but my business was still alive. And then 2010 came, things started to pick up. By 2011, we were having great billings. By 2012, we were making record billings again. And progressing in our business the way as if nothing had happened when the recession hit. And I think that that's the perspective that people have to have right now is just do what you have to do to stay in business, do what you do have to do to keep your job, do what you have to do to keep food on the table right now. It's not always going to be like this. The pandemic will subside. We'll all look back on it and in some ways be grateful that we had this refining experience in our lives because look what it got you, Tanya, 7 months of watching YouTube videos that has given you massive amount of education
That's right.
that you can take into the next phase of your career.
Right.
It gave you opportunities. We're on a podcast together.
Right.
Now we're friends and we're going to be friends 10 years from now and have a relationship that may not have happened had you not been, if you had been so busy
Right.
that you're with your podcast and your clients that you wouldn't have reached out to me. And who knows what our friendship will turn into over the years ahead. And all of it comes out of these slumps when it kind of forces us to reset and rethink our lives a little bit. So I think if you take it with that perspective, there can be a lot of positive things that come out of moments like this in our lives.
And I think you hit something on very important there is that you didn't quit in 2009. That's because you've also remembered that you had some really good years before that.
Yeah.
Because I went back to Indonesia in 2008. That's when my first husband passed away, and then that really changed our lives. And so I had to move back home with my daughter then. And when I was back in Indonesia, then Twitter was just sort of starting to come up just
Mm.
then. And I started with a friend, a digital agency, as a service to companies to answer people's tweets and said, like, you got to listen, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
be the thing where businesses is going to have a Facebook page and
Yeah.
and a Twitter account. People didn't even
Yep.
have that back then. And so that was the thing that I sold to businesses. It was like,
Yeah.
let me manage your Facebook page and your Twitter account. And I actually managed to get like 6 or 7 clients. And but it was hard because people were like, Facebook page, like, why do we need a Facebook
Yeah.
page for our company and a
Yeah.
Twitter account? And then
Yeah.
they said, like, people weren't buying then. And I didn't pursue that, and I didn't continue with that. And
Uh,
had I kept on with it, oh my
yeah.
god, I was like,
Yeah. You would have had a huge social media agency that you would be running right now had
well,
you.
yeah, exactly. Who knows where I would have been,
Yeah.
because it would have
Yeah.
been a decade, close to a decade of me being
Yeah.
kept keeping at it. But maybe it's destiny. I'm kind of sort of back ancillary on the side with the podcast and
Yeah.
not tweeting, but it's okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with it this time. And
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have a great business going, a great niche that you're filling. So I'm excited for you.
oh,
I
thank
think
you.
you've got a lot of upside. Yep.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, the next question is only going to be, when are you going to come and visit Indonesia? We
I
can
know I
do that.
want to so badly. It's on my list for sure. I think I had so many things that were canceled this year. It was pretty sad. I was supposed to go to Brisbane, Australia. I was supposed to go to Ghana. I was supposed to go to Dubai. I was supposed to go to Honolulu, all for speaking engagements.
Mm,
And I had one in Las Vegas to participate in events, and everything was canceled, canceled, canceled. In fact, I have not
mm,
left my city in a year. A year ago, right now, I was on my last travel anywhere. It was to Pensacola, Florida. I spoke at an event there. And
mm.
so I'm 1 year of not traveling after I was traveling for the 20 years before that. I was probably traveling once a month somewhere. And I'm in need of a vacation. I need some travel. I'm dying over here.
Well,
But
there's always the Grand Canyon, as you mentioned.
I know I could drive down there, but then you have to stay in hotels and pandemic and all of those things. So
Well,
I'm
yeah.
just going to ride it out through the holidays and hope that the vaccine that looks so promising is as promising and becomes available, and we start to, by spring, we start to have this be a distant memory. That's my hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Pfizer, that next 10%, please. Thank you very much.
I know. That's right.
Come on.
I'll take the 90%. They can give it to me now. Let's do this.
Really? You would take
That's
it
where
now?
Oh, 90% effective. That's safer than jumping into your car and driving around. It's not like the 10% of people that it was not effective on die from the vaccine. It's just that they still pose a chance of getting coronavirus. But 90% of the people who have it or who took the vaccine have uh, have immunity to it. So
Yeah.
that's my thought. So what are your thoughts on that? Sounds like you have some thoughts.
I'm gonna wait till it's like 100%. Well,
Oh,
it's, you know,
what's 100%? Is the
yeah,
measles vaccine even 100%? I don't even know.
I guess yeah, you're right. You're right. You know, my daughter
Yeah,
has
there's,
great. She loves all these pharmaceutical ads with the disclaimers towards the end,
I
and
know it's
I
so
think she's probably like was about 8 or 7 when she started doing that, and it's like randomly like this can cause bowel like
yeah,
like
yeah,
you just listen to her. And to your point, there's nothing that's 100% safe,
yeah.
and that's probably true. But yeah,
You'll let a lot of other people take it before you take it. That's what you're saying.
that's
Well, here, I'll tell you, Tanya, I'll take it first
and then you
so
come
that
and
you can
and
have
then,
more confidence.
and
You
then you
can have
can
more confidence.
right, and then we can meet up in either Jakarta or Bali, and we'll
Okay.
have the two Janda conference, and
Yes,
that's
it will be
us.
fun.
Yes,
Well,
well,
Bali's on my list too. There's so many places. I've never traveled to the Asian area at all.
mhm.
So that's so on my list. Everything over there from Philippines to Indonesia to Japan and Hong Kong. I mean, there's so many places near you that I want to go visit. Oh,
Well,
it's great.
you name the event, then we'll organize it. We'll organize the event
It
for.
would be awesome.
Yeah, I think so. I think you need to meet your Indonesian fan base.
I have a huge audience there.
Yeah,
Thousands and thousands of people from Indonesia. Really ambitious. That's what I've been impressed with. Shout out to the Indonesian people. So actively engaged in the Instagram creative community. There's so many Indonesian people that are actively engaged
that's right.
who DM me, who um, share my posts, who comment on my posts. There's just a huge audience there of people that just show so much ambition to grow in their career and so much desire for self-education.
Mhm.
I've been super impressed with
Yeah.
your community of people.
Well, that's great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I don't want to keep you. I know I can hold you forever. If like,
Well, we would talk all day, I'm sure.
I know that's probably
Yeah.
true, and I know it's coming towards the end of the year. So happy holidays, because I'm pretty sure that
Thank you. You too.
yes, and well, let's hope that this pandemic ends soon.
Yes, I agree.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, everybody, Mr. Michael Janda on Janda Becanda Show, and you can find him on his Instagram at More Janda, and if that's not enough, on his Facebook at Even More Janda. Is that right? That's right,
Yes.
at Even More
Yep. Or
Janda.
my personal Facebook is More Janda also. So either of those.
Yes, more.
Even More Janda is my business page.
Oh, that's
Yep.
your business. Because I
Yeah.
was having a good cackle when I saw like Even More Janda. Like that should
Yeah.
that should be a tagline. Even more, even more Janda. So it's brilliant. What a wonderful chance meeting this has been. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye now.
All right. Thank you, Tanya. We'll see you. Reach out anytime. Let's do it again.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.